Hi, all. This is Jan of the Jan Files. As suspected, as anticipated, the Justice Department issued a big FU to the survivors, to the Epstein transparency law, to Congress. They basically said, ha ha ha, you think we're going to follow the law? You think that we're not going to redact everything in sight that might involve Trump or any of his buddies? Well, here we are, and we did exactly that. We didn't give remotely the amount of documents that we were supposed to. We redacted things to the point where literally pages were all black because the entire page had been redacted. And thirdly, they actually added, pictures to it of Bill Clinton with some young women and I think Michael Jackson and Diana Ross with some kids. Had nothing to do with Epstein. Nothing. And they deliberately put those in to distract you. So anyway, as suspected, as I said, this is a disaster, and they are not going to do anything unless they are forced to. So how are they going to be forced to? That's really the issue. Or can they be forced? And yes, they can. And what exactly does that look like? Well, I saw an article today by Mitch Jackson. He's Mitch, the lawyer on Substack. Okay. Very worth reading this article. And again, let me see if the article what's the title to the article. It's called, what happens when the DOJ breaks the law? A lawyer explains every legal path Congress has to force the Epstein files release. So there is more than one way. They could issue a subpoena, yes, they'd be breaking the law, but they don't care if they don't, comply with the subpoena because they don't care about breaking the law. Now, they could go to court, and the court could say you have to release. And if they don't, they're in contempt of court. And then the sergeant at arms in the Congress could go and force them to turn the documents over to them. Now, likelihood of either one of those, a subpoena or, going to take a civil lawsuit. Civil lawsuit could take some time. And this is what we don't have any more of this kind of time. And so if you hear any kind of Democrat like Tim Kaine, who was on some Sunday morning show this morning, say, oh, well, it's premature to talk about impeachment of Bondi no, it's not. It is absolutely not premature. How many more decades do you want to pass before these women get justice? They were little girls. Their lives, in many cases, were destroyed. And you're saying it's premature. I got only 2 words, or maybe 2 letters for you. F you, Tim Kaine. And we don't tolerate that anymore. And everybody should do whatever they got to do to get in touch with him and say, stop. And we're not going to accept this crap anymore. Okay, so let's get to the heart of what we're talking about. What could they do that already Ro Khanna and Massey are talking about? And it's called inherent contempt. Now, I'm going to read this because I really don't want to screw it up. And this, again, is from that article by Mitch Jackson. I will post the link in, wherever you see this. Okay, so it's called inherent contempt. This is the most dramatic power Congress has, and it may be exactly what is needed. Inherent contempt means Congress has the ability to enforce its own orders by itself. Think of it as a Congress acting as judge, jury, and enforcer when someone defies a lawful order, like a subpoena or arguably a statutory mandate. This power has been upheld by the Supreme Court and was used several times in the distant past. Here is how it works. Congress holds a vote to declare an official in contempt, separate from any court proceedings. After that vote, Congress's sergeant at arms can literally go out and arrest the person. Yes, sounds shocking. Under the Constitution, Congress has this authority. They could detain an official at the Capitol or another location until that official agrees to comply. They also have the option to impose fines through inherent contempt. So this goes on a little bit more, but you get the gist. They don't need the courts. And what they do in terms of getting inherent contempt could be a vote in the House that has enough people to pass it to get an inherent contempt. And I think, and I'm thrilled that Kana and Massey are talking about this, because this seems to be a really powerful move by the Congress. And it could force another constitutional crisis, because obviously I believe we've seen many. But this is literally something they don't need the courts for. Okay? They have this right that has been upheld. And it's time they took it. It's time they found their balls, or ovaries, depending on male or female, and do something. And what we can do, which does make a difference, folks, is reach out to every single person that represents us in the House, in the Senate, and say, this is what we want you to do. We should be all talking about, there should be a hashtag inherent contempt, and make these people do something, okay? Force a real confrontation with the DOJ, because otherwise we are in a big conundrum, folks. I mean, we could go to the courts and then, then it gets caught up in appeals, and it gets caught up in a thing to the Supreme Court, and the Supreme Court, which is a corrupt body that is at the head of our judicial system, is going to get involved. And then God knows what they do, or how long they hang on to it, or whatever else. Okay? I suggest, and it's not me, I didn't know shit about this before this, but this is something we can advocate for. And that's what I'm suggesting we all do. I'm going to do it. I'll also put another link where you can have the link to find out what your representative's phone number is, their email. You can do both. I would do both. That's what I'm planning to do. And send, I want you to do this. I want you to speak up. And I don't care if this is being led by the House. Senators need to speak up, okay? We need to make sure that we have got the pressure on. It does make a difference. And we also need to try to coordinate within our groups, within whether it's 100 people, whether it's 600 people, 1,000 people, it doesn't matter. We all need to push each other to do this. And finally, I think, and I'm not big enough voice, I wish I was, I do believe that this is a protest in the making. We really should go on January 20th or another date and hold a US-wide protest supporting the release of the Epstein files. We need to also take a stand. And I think there'd be far more support for that than some of the other protests, and even, which would be amazing, because those were, No King's Day was massive. So anyway, folks, none of us are surprised we're here, but there are some things that Congress can do and that we can do. Join me. Let's get that hashtag inherent contempt going and really talk about standing our ground. Thank you.